Alright guys, I've been asked to give my opinion on if it fits your macros. This has been like the subject of like heated debate and controversy. If it fits your macros, for anybody who's not familiar, it's basically saying that you shoot for, at least this is how I understand it. You have a set, requirements of macronutrients that you're aiming for, a certain number of grams protein, certain number of grams of protein, carbs, and fats that you're shooting for on a daily basis, and how you choose to fulfill those requirements is up to you, and essentially doesn't matter. So, if you wanted to not eat any carbs all day, and maybe limit some of your fats so that at night you could have a pack of Twizzlers, that would not be off limits. That's how I understand it. That essentially the sources of things don't matter. That a carb is a carb, protein is protein, and fat's fat. Now again, I hope I'm not hacking this up, because this is how it's been explained to me and how I understand it, and how at least I've seen a lot of people following it. Personally, I kind of put it in the same room as a calorie is a calorie. From a thermodynamic standpoint, it is true that a calorie is a calorie. For us as bodybuilders, or for someone with a physique-oriented goal, the argument of a calorie is a calorie pretty much goes out the window, like right away. Because, if you have two people, say they're twins, okay, same metabolism, same everything, they train the same, they do everything the same, but one consumes 2,000 calories a day from Drake's products, and the other one consumes 2,000 calories a day from, standard, what's considered a healthy or sensible bodybuilding approach, your chicken and vegetables and some carbs and complex carbs and whatnot. You and I both know that those two people are going to look different. Okay, the composition of their bodies is going to be significantly different, even if, and I don't even believe this, their weight is the same. Now, how could that be? Certain foods cause certain, chemical reactions in the body, certain hormonal responses. We all know that insulin is a very, very powerful hormone, and if you're eating in a way that's fostering the release of insulin, versus someone who may not be eating a way that encourages the release of insulin, that right there, even if it's the same number of calories involved, that's just an example of how, from a hormonal standpoint, it could work differently. Deliver a different outcome. So when it comes to carbs, proteins, and fats, the same thing holds true. It's like saying a carbohydrate is a carbohydrate. Not true. If you were to look at how your body is going to process, starch, say found in a white potato, versus how it's going to process fructose. Very, very different. We know that the body has the capacity to store excess carbohydrates, say from starches, as muscle glycogen. Whereas it's very hard to do that with fructose. I guess from what I understand, we can store it as some liver glycogen, but if it's not going to be immediately used for energy, it's most likely to be stored as fat. Same thing with protein. There's complete proteins. There's, I guess what you would call inferior proteins. If people are eating complete protein sources like, chicken, eggs, various, say whey protein, steak, whatever, fish, compared to someone consuming grains, protein from grains or soy, something like that, nah. Same thing with fats. There's healthy fats, there's trans fats, there's long chain fats, there's all different types of fats, many of which will metabolize differently and have a different effect on the body. So I understand there are people out there who are having success with if it fits your macros. And I guess you could argue that we all, to some degree, follow if it fits your macros. Bodybuilders have macro requirements as well. I mean, we're all shooting for a certain amount of protein, carbs, fats, so on and so forth. But I think it makes more sense to try to get them from more complete and healthful sources, because just as there's macronutrients, there's also micronutrients. So, I mean, there's plenty of foods. It's one thing to just look at grams of protein, carbs, and fats, but what about all the micronutrients? I mean, that paints a bigger picture as to the total nutrition of something. I mean, you could take 8 ounces of liver and compare that with 8 ounces of, I don't know, even fish, right? 8 ounces of liver versus 8 ounces of fish. That 8 ounces of liver is actually much more nutritious, even if it contains the same amount of protein and if it was the same amount of calories. If you look at the nutritional profile of liver, the vitamins and minerals contained in it, it's actually very, very fortifying. It's a rich food, and I have to believe that makes a difference in terms of sustaining a person, because it's not just macronutrients that sustain somebody, but micronutrients. We all know that vitamins and minerals are important. So why would you not, when you're trying to optimize your performance and optimize your physique, why would you not look to optimal sources of nutrition? And I understand there are people that are following a if it fits your macro style diet and getting in great shape, and that's awesome. But I think they may be selling themselves short. I mean, you may be able to get in even better shape. And there's also the idea of it, is it really a healthy way to do it? Does it really make sense? And again, I'm not here to preach about health, because as a professional bodybuilder, I certainly do what I need to do to be competitive. But when it comes to making food choices or, anything else, whenever possible, I try to make the healthful choice. Because that's something I can control. So I don't know, that's my spiel about if it fits your macros. Can it work? Sure, I'm sure that a lot of things can work. Do I think that it's optimal? I don't. I think that there is a certain point where bodybuilders, say you're dieting for a contest, the metabolism may start to go out of control. It just may come down to calories, right? Because you may just need more calories to sustain your body. Just as in an off season, you may just need to increase the amount of calories. And how you choose to get them, it may just be more a matter of putting your body over that edge to put the weight on. I think it's a little different when it comes to taking weight off. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. So.